In the last stream, we were working on upgrading our Applied Energistics 2 system to allow us to start auto-crafting both with the molecular assembler here and also with some of these thermal expansion machines. And the main thing that we taught our system to make in the last episode was these resonant integral components from thermal expansion. Between streams, I've requested 10 more of these, and I think we can fairly easily request another 10. Right now, though, requesting 10 does just ever so slightly use more than the 1024 bytes that we have available in our 1K crafting grid, and so we would have to do 9 instead of 10 if we actually wanted to start the craft. Of course, if we wanted to, we could look at upgrading this crafting storage here to allow us to request larger crafts, but I don't really think that's going to be necessary. The idea, by the way, behind getting more of these resonant integral components is that we can hopefully, once and for all, upgrade our ore processing system, because as you can see here, we do have a slight problem once again with things backing up here. The reason that happened, I think, is because I did not put a void upgrade on this draw right here, and so our system kind of backed up a little bit between streams on basic ore essence. I've since fixed that problem, and we are now deleting excess basic ore essence, but we do also have storage upgrades in here to allow us to store more of that essence going forward. Real quick, let me do something like this and kind of upgrade all of our induction smelters, or almost all of our induction smelters here with the higher tier resonant integral components. You can put 2 integral components into a machine, but it doesn't actually do anything. Only the highest tier integral component will be used. Anything else just doesn't do anything. You'll see right now we're using 80 redstone flux per tick. If I put this other integral component in, it doesn't change. It only changes when I take the resonant component in and out. So there's no point in leaving the other components in. In fact, we probably should have taken these out first, because these would have made the crafting of the new resonant integral components quicker, because the system wouldn't have to make them again. But we'll take all these out, and I think I'll try and get those highest tier integral components into basically all of these machines here, as well as, of course, the highest tier flux linkage amplifiers to really maximize the speed at which we can produce basically everything that we are currently processing. Once again, I will go ahead and get just a few more of the resonant integral components, because I think we are missing maybe like 6 more to fully kit out all of our machines. And then once those are done, we'll also request the flux linkage amplifiers and really crank our ore processing here up to the max. Alright, and not too long later, we have now fully kitted out every single one of these induction smelters and pulverizers with a resonant integral component and 3 flux linkage amplifiers to make them as fast as they can possibly be. And I think at this point in time, our limiting factor is just how fast we can extract things and send them to the right places, because you'll see occasionally the pulverizers here and the induction smelters have nothing inside of them, and so it could well be worth getting some more card overclockers for these 2 extraction cards so we can start moving items out faster. I do think that if we were to just leave the system as it currently is, things would be fine. I think we've got a system that is already fast enough, but we might as well take it to the extreme here and make this as fast as possible. Let's transfer basically like a full stack every tick, and then we'll do the same here as well. We'll transfer a full stack every tick to make that as quick as it can possibly be. And yeah, we should start to see these filling up. We do indeed. It's now moving items as fast as it possibly can to all of the pulverizers and induction smelters. They are all processing everything as fast as they possibly can, and everything is also being pulled in correctly as well. And so hopefully we're going to slowly but surely burn through the backlog and burn through this fountain of ores that is spewing out on top of our chest here, but over time things should be fine. And so now that that's taken care of, we can focus our efforts on the tier 10 support frame, because right at the end of the last episode, we were working on this Essence questline in the Hellish Tech section of the quest book. The idea here is we are producing the Essence ore, we then process that Essence ore through our regular pulverizing system into basic ore essence, and then we can use this to produce the higher tier, advanced ore essence, and then the elite ore essence. And ideally, we are going to try and automate this setup because we want to automate the production of nether stars. There are a few reasons for this. One is that we need a lot of nether stars to make tier 10 support frame, and we're going to need a lot of tier 10 support frame. Each 3 tier 10 support frame requires 1 nether star, and of course you need like 36 tier 10 support frame per tier 10 miner that you want to set up. Alongside that, though, if we take a little look ahead at the final Technium Ingot here, one of these quests is a Mod Mastery Essence book. We need to make 16 of these, which means we need 16 lots of everything that you see here, which includes some of these Elite Mob Essence blocks, which are just kind of dense versions of the Elite Mob Essence. And so we're going to need quite a lot of this Elite Mob Essence and quite a few nether stars. And so to do that, we're going to want to make a few more machines. In the last stream, we did craft ourselves the Essence Station. And I think ideally here, we're going to want to get at least 3 of these. Thankfully, they're super easy to make. So the idea here is that we're going to export the basic ore essence in its block form. We're then going to turn that into advanced ore essence. We then want to craft that into its block form, export it again into a second machine in order to produce the elite ore essence. And then from there, we need a third essence station to convert the elite ore essence into elite mob essence. And then from there, we need a resource duplicator in order to get the nether stars. So we do have the duplicator, should be in the system. The only thing that's really tricky about this is the fact that we do have to continually supply the entire setup with these essence converters. And so my plan here is kind of just to teach the system how to make the essence converters, which thankfully are pretty easy to make. This is not the right thing though. It's not essence converters, is it? It is. Oh no, it is essence converters. Scratch that. It's an essence upgrader is what we need. We need to supply the system with essence upgraders in order to convert the basic essence into advanced and then the advanced into elite. And so real quick in here, let's teach our system how to make this in code, and we'll place that into our ME pattern provider, which I have gone ahead and moved between streams. Before it was over here, now it's over here. Nothing's really changed. This is just a nicer place to put it, and my plan going forward is that if we need to, we can get more of those ME pattern providers, and we can place them down just around the molecular assembler. So I can put another one here, and this gives us 9 more slots for 9 more crafting recipes. So what I am going to do is I'm going to put down these essence stations, and I'm probably going to put them down maybe like right about here. So if we quickly grab some stone to fill in this hole here, I was initially thinking about putting another ME pattern provider and another molecular assembler over on this side, but I don't think we're going to need it. We can put a total of 6 ME pattern providers around this one molecular assembler, which is going to give us more pattern slots, I think, than we're going to need in the remainder of this pack. And so I'm fairly certain that we should be able, instead, to do something like this, and use these essence stations to automate the production of elite mob essence and elite essence ore. So we can start at the top. The first thing we need to do is we need to export the right thing to all 3 of these. Actually, I might have to put these down like this, simply due to the fact that I'm fairly certain that these machines are side specific. So I think if you want to insert basic ore essence, you have to insert that into the top. So if I grab a hopper and I try hoppering in the back, I don't think this will go into the right slot. Yeah, so we need to send our essence upgrader to the back or to the side. We need to send the thing that we're trying to upgrade, in this case, something like the basic ore essence, to the top. Perfect. And we can extract from the bottom. So what we want to do is kind of twofold. I'm going to make some exporters here from Applied Energistics, because we can use these to keep all of these machines filled up with essence upgraders, or at least the first 2 with essence upgraders. Thankfully, the ME export bus is super easy to make. It's 2 iron, 1 piston, and a formation core. We made a bunch of formation cores in the last episode, and essentially we're going to put an export bus on the back of all 3 of these machines. Now, we can quickly connect that up. We do have a cable nearby, as we just saw under here. So let's just do something like this. We are going to need some more cable, but that is fine. There we go. One thing I didn't mention in the last 2 episodes, I definitely should have mentioned, is that Applied Energistics 2 does have channels enabled in this mod pack. And what that means is that you're limited in terms of the number of things you can connect to each side of the ME controller. The default is you can connect 32 items to each side of the ME controller. And by items, I mean like blocks that use a channel. So each one of these ME export buses uses a channel. Each one of these ME pattern providers uses a channel. The molecular assembler, I believe, doesn't use a channel. The terminal uses a channel. The wireless access point uses a channel. The crafting storage uses a channel. Basically, anything that you connect to your AE2 system will use a channel. The default is 32 per side, but you can only get 32 per side if you use a dense cable. Right now, we're just using regular cable, so standard Flux cable. If you're using standard Flux cable, you can only connect 8 things to each side of the ME controller, which is why I've kind of diversified where we're connecting things up. So we've got a lot of items, but they're all connected to different sides of the controller. And again, each side of the controller can connect up to 8 items. So right now over here, this side only has these 2, right? Because the cable comes off the left, goes up around over here, connects to these 2, and then we're going to connect up these 3. So that side is going to have 5. If we wanted to connect more than 8, we'd either have to upgrade to higher tier cable or connect to a different side of the ME controller. One thing that you can do is you can put multiple ME controllers down next to each other to make a multi-block ME controller. We don't have the ability to make another one here because we don't have the Skystone. We do have some Skystone. Do we need to smelt this? We do need to smelt this. If I smelt this real quick over in our smelting factory, and we give that a quick tap, I can just show off the premise here just in case people are wondering how to make it work. You can take a controller, and you can make a pretty big ME controller just by putting down multiple controller blocks like this. And those now connect, and they're part of the same controller, but now you get an extra 8 channels off this side, 8 channels off this side, 8 channels off this side. You get the idea. And potentially up to 32 channels in total. And real quick, one other thing you can do is you can put cable anchors down like this to prevent your cables from touching, because as soon as they touch, they then share channels, which then could become a problem, right? So if you don't want them to connect, that is where the cable anchors come into play. Again, I don't really foresee us needing this kind of secondary ME controller here, but we can always expand our controller if we do need it in the future. What we do need to do, though, back over here, is we do need to throw down our Flux cable. And so now that these are connected up, we can go ahead and request an essence upgrader. In fact, we already have an essence upgrader. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is in here, I'm going to say export essence upgraders. And if we have them in the system, it should export it, which it did. Nice. That is all well and good, but there are a few problems here. The first problem is that we don't have any more essence upgraders. And so it's not going to export any more of them into the essence station here. Thankfully, that is where the crafting card comes into play. The crafting card is super nifty here, not only because it is fairly easy to make, it just requires some basic cards that we can then craft with, you guessed it, a crafting table to make the crafting cards. The crafting cards, though, will look at the item that is being exported, in this case, the essence upgrader, and if the system doesn't have one, but does know how to craft it, which is true in this case there is an essence upgrader, and the system knows how to craft it, it will then just request that one be crafted. And so if we keep an eye on that molecular assembler there, we can put a crafting card in here. We should then see a craft be sent over. Look at that. Boom. And then it should be put in here. Perfect. And so now, basically, we'll put the same in here and in here, like that. And now, whenever there is not an essence upgrader inside of one of these stations, these export buses will request that the system make one for them, and then they will export it to the correct slot. So basically, these are always going to have an essence upgrader inside of them, which is good. Next up, we want to take our essence here, and we want to place it into the first station, but we do want to do that in block form. So this is where things get a little tricky, because there are a few things we could do. We could teach our system how to craft the block version of this, and then we could just send it straight through to here, so we could have another export bus on the top that then exports the block version. But the trouble that we're going to run into is if we want to put more exporters on the top, we're going to run into channel limitations, because again, we've already got 5 items down, we only have access to 3 more things, and we still need to pull the items out of the bottom. And so I think what we might do instead is maybe tweak this a little bit. And what I might do is I might use one of these auto crafting tables to kind of automate this for us. So if we get, and we might actually already have another auto crafting table in the system. We don't, but we do have another basic crafting table ready to go, and we can of course upgrade that to an auto crafting table very easily, assuming we have all the items required. It's never a good idea to try and do your craft inside of the pattern encoding terminal. Doesn't really work too well. But over here, if we do this and this, we can then of course just place kind of this drawer on top of the basic crafting table. And because of the fact that our simple storage network has access to all of the storage drawers, what we should be able to do is something like this. Go ahead and lock that like so. And then we'll take a few more of these. We'll quickly teach this guy how to do this craft. Make sure that we turn that off real quick so we can save it and teach it. There we go. Fantastic. Turn that back on. And if we just get another export cable from Simple Storage Network, we should be able to put that down here, and then using the old network cable, we could then run this down like this and connect it to our pre-existing network cable over here. And that should automate the production of those mob essence blocks without having to use extra channels and without having to take up time in the molecular assembler, which I think is ideal. And you'll see that's making the advanced ore essence. From there, I think what we probably want to do is kind of repeat the setup. If we get another draw, we got loads of these now, we can put that down up here, like so. Again, we'll go ahead and lock that, like this, and we'll take out the advanced ore essence and put that in up there. Perfect. And of course, we need to tell the export cable what to export. Let me quickly do this, and of course, we can export that faster if needs be. We'll see how well it holds up, but we could make it quicker if we wanted to. Over here, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to make yet another one of the basic crafting tables. We're going to upgrade that to yet another basic auto crafting table. Put that here. The same setup is going to be done with this. We're going to take advanced ore essence, and we're going to teach it to craft the same recipe. Of course, making sure we turn it off so we can lock it like so, and turn it back on. Fantastic. Let's grab our hopper, throw that down here, and that should produce the elite essence for us. We then need to take that elite ore essence and turn it into elite mob essence. For that, we need our third essence station with the essence converter. So this one actually doesn't need essence upgraders. This one needs essence converters. Thankfully, teaching the system how to make essence converters also shouldn't be too difficult, although it does mean the system is going to need access to the elite ore essence, which could prove a little tricky. We'll see how that plays out, but I'll put this in here. And then do we have the ability to make at least one of these? We do not, but we can make this version with the elite mob essence. Oh, we totally can't because we don't have the basic mob essence. Interesting. That's fine, actually. We do have this guy, right? So we can do the bottom recipe. Perfect. So let's put you in like this. And then in here, we'll take out the essence upgrader and we'll put in the essence converter. Perfect. So we're going to take another draw. That's going to go at the top up here. And that is going to be for that elite essence. That elite essence then doesn't need to be crafted, actually, right? This can go straight into the hopper. So I'll put another hopper down right about here. We'll do a quick lock to fix that texture. Fantastic. And are you working over here? You are working. Of course, we need to send the essence from here up to that drawer. I think that is another situation where laser IO is going to come in particularly helpful. So if we take some laser nodes, some laser wrenches, and maybe even our card holder. I don't know if there are any cards in here. There are not. That's fine. We should be able to make more item cards. We did make quite a few of these logic chips a few episodes ago. And my thought process here is that we can probably throw a laser node down here and then put another laser node down over here. If we connect those up by right-clicking and right-clicking, we can then set this one to extract from the top. So we're going to go up, put the item card in, and set that to extract. And then over here, we're going to just tell this one to insert on the west side, like that. And that should move the advanced ore essence out of here and into here. Perfect, which is going to keep the system going. And then we want to do the exact same thing, where we're going to take items out of here. And if we just spread these out a bit, we could have maybe put this between the two of these, because although you do have to extract from the bottom, don't forget that the laser node can specify which side it extracts from, even if it's not on that side. Either way, this will work with the current setup that we have. If we get one more laser node and we place that laser node up over here, we can then connect this guy to this guy, and we can do the exact same thing here. We can get two more item cards. 1 and 2. We can set the bottom one here to extract from the top, not from the south, like this, extract, and we can set this one over here to insert again on the west side. And assuming that we have this set to the right item, it should start then moving the elite ore essence up into here. This is where things get a little bit more tricky, because at this point, we do need to give our system access to some of this. Actually, I think this is fine. Never mind. I think this is completely fine, because I think the elite mob essence is kind of the thing that we just want to keep. I think we want to take this and we want to put it into one of these drawers up here. So let me actually put another import cable onto the bottom here, like that, and then let's connect that back up to our simple storage network. Cool. And that should pull all of the elite essence round into this drawer. As per usual, we actually don't need to put a void upgrade on that drawer. This is actually fine. We do want to put like a regular upgrade, I think, onto that drawer. So one of these, just to make sure we can hold a lot of that elite mob essence. But now, we probably need to change the recipe. That's not going to be easy to do. Ooh, this is going to be tricky though, because this recipe for the essence converter currently requires basic ore essence and elite ore essence. And right now, the system doesn't have access to elite ore essence, and that's kind of where the problem might come into effect. Whereas it does have access to elite mob essence, but it doesn't have access to basic mob essence, right? And so if we look at the recipe for the converter again, there are two recipes, but right now we can't make either of them with the system because we either don't have the elite ore essence or we don't have the basic ore essence. What I might have to do, one thing we could do to get around it that would look bad but would work, is if we kind of got rid of this and put a drawer here, we could then have another drawer that holds the same essence. So if we take this and put this in here, real quick, let me move this. Apparently we've got too many atomic alloys. I'm trying to carry on this, but it's not letting me do it. That's fine. Let me pick that up, put it down here, take all those out, put you in, lock the drawer. What I'm thinking is if we move this up, I think we could then set this side to insert as well, put a downgrade maybe in there to make it so that it only holds a stack at most. And then from there, we could set the priority of this insertion higher so it puts things in here before it starts converting them. I think that would work in kind of the exact same way. It just looks pretty bad because of the fact that it messes up our draw situation. Annoyingly, we are once again out of logic chips. Thankfully, I think we can go ahead and just make like a stack of those and smelt them up in our energized smelter. We'll take you out, put you in. Fantastic. And of course, give that a little bit of a tap. Beautiful. Let's get our item card. And yeah, I think we can set the other side to insert and set it to a higher priority. So if we put this in here and we say that the priority on this is 1, that should take all of the elite essence out of this essence station, and it should place it into this drawer first. Only when this drawer is full will it then start putting them in this drawer and converting them into elite essence. It's a little bit overkill, but it should get the job done. If we wanted this to look a little nicer, I guess we could swap the south card to the east, and then we could move this drawer to the back like that. We could then replace down our log here, and then we could just put some trim of some persuasion like that. And that will do the same thing, but it just kind of makes it look a little nicer from this side of the equation because our system should still now have access to that elite mob essence. It does, and the elite mob essence is still going to go here first because the priority on this card is still higher. You know, we can set this as high as we want. It doesn't really matter so long as it's higher than this, which is the case. Then everything should work. I think the only thing slowing this whole system down now is this thing over here. If we do this, we should now start exporting that basic ore faster, and therefore should start kind of producing all of this much quicker. So now that this is up and running, we are getting the elite mob essence, or we're going to start getting the elite mob essence once this framed drawer fills up. Of course, one thing we can do is we can give this a quick speed boost, because right now our limiting factor is the basic ore essence kind of transmutation that's going on here, and the essence upgrader does get used so fast. Like, this is the limiting factor currently, is just how fast things can get made here, and obviously how fast they can get extracted out as well. But I think that's fine. We can leave this going for now because we're not going to need any more nether stars until we get some of the next tier of ores. So I believe the idea here is that if we look ahead a little bit towards voided technium, which is the second to final technium that we need, for this we need nether stars, which is fine. We can make those with the essence up here. And in fact, we can go ahead and take some essence and quickly teach our system just how to craft those nether stars. We can do something, actually that's not right at all, that's my bad. We want to teach it the recipe here, where we take 10 elite mob essence and use it to make 1 nether star. And then from there, we just need to get another ME pattern provider. In fact, we can probably steal this pre-existing pattern provider. And then over here, we just want to take our resource duplicator, place that down. We then want to put our last nether star that we made in the last episode into the top slot here, like this. And then we're going to put our pattern provider on top like that. And I don't know if it's necessary, but we'll make it point down like that. And just put this pattern in here. And so now if we connect that up to our pre-existing network, which we can do like that, this here is connected to this, and this is connected to the main network, so it should all work. Now if we come back and we take a look, our system knows how to make nether stars, and because we have at least 10 mob essence in here, this should work. The only thing that's not going to work currently is importing the final product, because right now the nether star is just going to sit in the resource duplicator. That is where we can grab one more laser node, and we can actually utilize the ender chest that we made in the last stream. So if we take an item card here, we can use that to extract and also to insert. And then we did make an ender chest last episode, but here it's actually useful. We can do this. We can set one of these to extract. That's going to go into the top. And then we want to put the bottom one for insert, like that. And we'll put the ender chest underneath, like so. And so now, if we were to go ahead and request a nether star, start, it should send 10 elite mob essence over to here. I've done this wrong. I'm a fool. I need to put this in the other slot. That's my bad. This needs to go into the bank. We need to break this, and do this, which is actually quite useful because it means it goes on the same side as everything else, but it's here, like that. You'll see it did put the elite mob essence in. It makes another star, and it gets imported around bank into the system. Eventually, if we're importing stuff. The reason it's not working currently is because the ender chest, I think... Oh no, the ender chest should import it. I think we're just not importing things quite fast enough. It is going to get there. There we go. It got there in the end. There's just a limit on how fast this import bus can import things, but that did work, and we did get a nether star. And so going forward, we should be able to just request that nether stars be made, so long as we have enough of the elite essence over in the straw, which is going to slowly but surely back up as we work on other things. So, other than the nether stars and the hellish technium, which we already have, we need DESH, calorite, and ostrum blocks. Now, these, I believe, are the resources that require the tier 10 support frame. If we want to automate these 3 resources, which, as you may have guessed, are all just made from 9 of the associated ingots, we can get these from, of course, their ores, and those ores are gotten from space. So we need to work our way through the Beyond Earth space mod to get those ores. Once we've gotten those ores, we can then go ahead and set up miners for those ores to create unlimited of these ingots, which we can then use to make the voided technium. Now, to do that, we have to first start, of course, with the space program questline. Now, thankfully, in the last episode, we did craft up 4 beacons, and so I'm fairly certain that we should be able to craft the Beyond Earth research paper kind of right away here. Yeah, the only thing we're missing here is 3 hellish technium, which we do have over in this drawer here. 1, 2, and 3. Drop those back into the crafting grid. Boom, and boom. Nice. So now, it wants us to make a compressor, a NASA workbench, a tier 1 rocket, and a launch pad. So the compressor is easy enough. I say easy enough. The recipe has been tweaked to require the hellish technium here, which is not ideal. I have a feeling quite a few of these recipes might have been tweaked to require hellish technium. It's not too bad. It might take a second here because we have set our system up in such a way that it's quite cautious with how many of these singularities it makes, but we should... Hopefully, yeah, it's very cautious with these singularities. Let me quickly check the other recipes here. So we need a hellish technium for the NASA workbench, and then for the rocket, do we need any hellish technium for any of these parts? It does, I was going to say it doesn't look like we do. We do need 3 more for the nose cone. So we need 4 more in total, 3 for the rocket and 1 for the workbench, and then 4 more here. So we need 8 more in total if we want to get to this stage. Then the fuel refinery needs another 4, which means we need 12. The oxygen loader needs another 3, which means we need 15. The oxygen tanker needs another 4, which means we need 19. And then we do need to make the full suite of space armor, which is 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2. So we need 2, 4, 6, plus 4 is 10, plus the 18, 28. We need 28 more hellish technium. We need quite a lot more hellish technium to progress here. That should be fine, I think. I'm pretty sure we have what it takes to make that happen. Of course, none of our Technium Ingots are over here anymore. They're all over in this wall. We are making more of these. We're backed up on quite a few of them, and Ultimate Technium is still coming in quite nicely. It does mean, though, that we're probably going to want to, at least temporarily, change the way this works a little bit. Right now, we have this set to transfer 1 item every 2 seconds, which is probably slower than it needs to be, especially if we're going to be making a lot of these. And for now, I think we can take this redstone card out just to let this kind of slowly but surely back up on hellish technium ingots, because we need 28 of them. So we need quite a few of them to make this a reality. And in fact, it might even be worth grabbing some overclocker cards just to make this transfer even faster as well. We do have more chips, of course, in here. Let me do something like this, and then on the downward extraction, we'll put you in, and we'll just transfer 8 at a time. That way it's going to make the full singularity every time, and it's just going to make the production of these 28 hellish technium that much faster. The Twitch chat is pointing out that the spacesuit here does require 2 oxygen tanks, which is true, and so I said 28, but we actually need 4 more, so we need 32. So we need a kind of a bang on half a stack of hellish technium to make this work. Okay, so this is working. We've got 23 hellish technium here, and more is coming in as we speak. The limiting factor, I think, is going to be the singularities. The reason for that is that we're just not making the ultimate technium fast enough over here, and the limiting factor seems to be our atomic alloys over here, which is not making these fast enough. Thankfully, those are kind of the easiest to upgrade because we can just make a ton of the speed and energy upgrades and just apply them to every one of the machines so that we can make them faster. And so I think I'll probably go ahead and do that. I was going to turn this back off again when we hit 32, but at this point in time, I have been told by the Twitch chat that if we look at the recipe for fuel here, which we also need in order to actually use our rocket, the fuel is made from crude oil, and in this pack, crude oil is made in a magma crucible from hellish technium. Now, it does appear that if we wanted to, we could get 36 buckets of oil and then produce unlimited oil with the fluid absorber. I don't know if that's really going to be necessary, though, because I don't think we need that much fuel to actually fly the rocket, and we don't need to do that many rocket flights. And so we'll see. We might end up getting unlimited oil, but we might also just make enough to actually fly the rocket. But real quick, let me go ahead and make just a bunch of speed and energy upgrades to make the atomic assemblers over to make the production of atomic alloys over here just that much faster. All right, so these are now going a lot faster. All the alloys are being made substantially quicker. I've also upgraded the multi-servo press here to make the sheet metal faster as well, because the uranium was also becoming a bit of a bottleneck, but that's now all being made a little bit faster. And over here, we now have 46 hellish technium. So let's take that out and let's see if we cannot make some of these machines. For starters, we need the compressor, which now seems easy enough. We'll take that. And I guess for now we can put it over here. From there, the next quest wants us to make the NASA workbench. So the NASA workbench is where we actually build our rockets. For this, we need some compressed steel with a crafting table, 2 levers, 1 redstone torch, and another hellish technium. The only thing we're missing here is the compressed steel, which is where the compressor comes into play. If I take 4 steel, I'm fairly certain that I can throw that in here, and with a little bit of help from the time in a bottle, we should be able to make 4 compressed steel fairly quickly, at which point we then have everything we need to make our NASA workbench. And I think I'm going to set up my kind of space area over here. So we no longer need the lapidary dynamos, even though our power setup is still called Lappy Power. We actually have no need for any of the Lappy Power that currently exists. We can get rid of all of it, and we can rely solely on our reactor over there. And so I'm kind of going to get rid of most of what is over on this platform, and I think we can also get rid of this as well, of course. At this point, we don't need it. And I think we'll have our launch pad in the center here, and then we'll kind of clear a space in the roof so we can shoot our rocket up out of this little area of the base. For now, though, we do need to put down the NASA workbench. Let's say right about here. Let's get rid of all of these, and then let's quickly fill in the floor just to make it look a little bit less haphazard. And you know what, just for the sake of consistency, can I rename this to Space Place? I can. Cool. And someone also requested in the YouTube comments that we rename this. This one's called Conveyor Hell. They wanted it renamed to, I mean, it's still kind of Conveyor Hell, but they wanted it renamed to Laser Hell because of all the lasers that were there, which I think is an apt name, especially considering we use these all the time. So now in here, we can build our very first rocket. The Tier 1 rocket is made with 4 rocket fins, 2 steel tanks, 1 steel engine, 6 compressed steel, and 1 rocket nose cone. So a lot of these need compressed steel, iron plates, more compressed steel, more iron, more steel, more iron, some iron plates. Okay, this all seems fine. Let me grab like a stack of steel, and let's try and turn that into just a stack of plates over in here. We'll do something like this. We'll try and make that as fast, well, not quite as fast as we can, but we'll make it pretty fast. These are still coming in, fantastic. We are going to need more of those. And we also need some iron plates, which I think we might not have. Yeah, we don't. That is fine, though. we do have a multi-servo press over here. I was going to use the the old metal press, but there's no need to use that at this point in time. We can instead do something like that. And in fact, we can probably tear the old metal press down at this point because we're probably not going to need it going forward. I think 64 compressed steel should be more than we need. Back in here, we can leave these in here, I'm pretty sure. Yes, we totally can. Fantastic. So we don't have to carry them around with us. And then let's see, what is the easiest thing for us to make here? These rocket fins seem pretty straightforward. Let me bookmark the tier 1 rocket itself so that we don't have to keep searching for it. And how many rocket fins do I need? I need 4 rocket fins. That is completely fine. Let's get those in here and here. We then need 1 steel engine, which is made from steel, an engine fan, and an engine frame. The engine frame is just iron and steel, and then the engine fan is, you guessed it, just iron and steel. And with that, we should have, I think, everything for the steel engine. We do, and we can whack that in the bottom. We then need 2 steel tanks. No prizes for guessing what this requires. You guessed it, it's more iron and more steel. We'll put those in here. And then finally, the most expensive part is the rocket nose cone, which requires the hellish technium, along with some steel and a redstone torch. Perfect. And so we'll throw that in, and that should be our first rocket. Nice. Then finally, the only thing left to get is the launch pad here. The launch pad requires the hellish technium with more iron, both in plate and ingot form. And then from there, we should be able to put this down like this. We do a 3x3, and you'll notice when the center there kind of pops up a little bit. And from there, we can right-click our rocket onto the center, and this is now ready to launch. So we are going to have to disconnect our vital windmill power. It's going to have to go offline. The windmill will still spin, but it just won't do anything. And then we'll get rid of the glass here, just so we don't crash directly into it when we try and take off. Fantastic. We are going to need to get a fuel loader, which is not here currently. I think a fuel loader is a thing that we need. Fuel loader. Maybe not. Maybe we can just pipe directly into it in this version. This is kind of like a Galacticraft port, and in Galacticraft you used to require a fuel loader, but apparently that's not a thing in Beyond Earth. That's fine. Let's go ahead and work our way through the quest line here. Oil can be created in a magma crucible from hellish technium. We saw that earlier. Fuel refinery is what we need to actually turn that oil into fuel. And in order to make a fuel refinery, we need a furnace, 2 buckets, an iron ingot, some redstone, and some hellish technium. The only thing we're missing is 1 standard Minecraft bucket. I'll make a few of these just in case we need more in the future. Boom, and boom. Nice. So the fuel refinery here should be able to turn the crude oil into fuel. To make the crude oil, we of course need to get the magma crucible. Thankfully, I don't think a magma crucible should be too difficult for us to make at this point in time. We're just missing some hardened glass. One cool thing here, you'll see it says Control-Click to craft unavailable items. So if I Control-Click, it'll go ahead and just craft the hardened glass for us because our system already knows how to make the hardened glass, and then we can just put it in and craft the magma crucible. And so I'll put that right about here. And then from there, if we just place down like a flux duct like this, we should be able to start powering the magma crucible. And of course, we're going to set this to output on the right-hand side and push, so it takes all of the crude oil and pushes it into there. From there, if we go ahead and put a hellish technium into here, of course, ideally, with one of our newly crafted resonant integral components to make it as fast as possible, it's going to make crude oil, which is then going to get turned into fuel. From there, I assume that we can then bucket this out of the refinery. If we do this, we totally can. And then from there, can I just place this into the rocket? We can. If you shift right click, you can just put it in. Nice. And you'll see that it doesn't really hold much. It only holds 3 buckets worth of fuel. So we don't really need that much to head out to the moon. And so I think we should be fine here. We'll take our second bucket, we'll load that in, and then the third bucket will be done fairly shortly. We'll throw you in there. Fantastic. And at that point, we're almost good to go. Let's quickly take a look and see if we can't make some of the other items required here. We saw that we needed 2 oxygen tanks. This seems fairly straightforward. We're just missing some red wool. Wool we can make. Making it red just requires some red dye, which we can do either with beets, poppies, or dye base. We are going to have to get some dye base for the end of the pack. For right now, though, we actually have none of this available, but one thing we can do, of course, is get some bone meal and use that on our grass on the lower platform. We've not done it thus far, but we can actually craft bones using the ultimate crafting table. It takes a lot of mob essence, though. The easier way to do this might be to cycle seeds here. We can turn these into industrial hemp seeds, and then into melon seeds, then into pumpkin seeds, then into beetroot seeds. And if I put those beetroot seeds into our trusty garden cloche here, so if we, I guess we can get rid of this one now and take you out. If I put the beetroot seeds in instead, we can get these back into the system, and then we can just give this a quick tap with our time in a bottle. Of course, power is one of those things that we are going to have to consider here. Do we have what it takes to make yet another flux plug? We do not. However, at this point in time, making more flux plugs is quite straightforward because we have those ender pearls automated, which is quite nice. And of course, we have just disconnected our windmill power, so we should probably look to swap out to the flux point system anyway over here. And hopefully, yeah, that gets us the beetroot, which we can then just craft into red dye. And then from there, we have everything. Well, not quite everything. I think we might need more red dye. But if we get some more beetroot, we should then be able to craft more red dye, which we can then use to craft the red wool for the oxygen tank. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then hopefully 1 and 2. Nice. So with that, we do want to make sure that we hold those in our hands so we can complete the quest for it. Fantastic. Then the oxygen loader we'll get to in a second. We now need to get our space suit. So the space suit seems pretty straightforward for the most part. It does seem like we're missing something in the center there, but I don't think we are. This requires oxygen gear, which requires an iron rod. That seems easy enough, just some iron. And then from there, we can make the oxygen gear, and we can make the space suit. Perfect. Let me clear my inventory out just a little bit. We've got so much stuff in here. The space pants seem easy enough, and the space boots also easy enough. What is up with the helmet here? Oh, we need just an iron helmet, I see. It's showing in the wrong spot in the crafting grid, but that works. Perfect. And so we can just go ahead and throw this on, and we're now fully kitted out in terms of space gear. You'll see in the top left, we have no oxygen. That is where the oxygen loader is going to come into play, though, because for the oxygen loader, we can use that to load oxygen into our spacesuit, which is then going to allow us to breathe on the moon. For that, we do need one more oxygen tank, annoyingly enough. We do not have enough string, but we do have a ton of industrial hemp fiber over here, which we can, of course, craft directly into string, like so, and then, of course, into wool. Fantastic. And, of course, into red wool using our pre-existing beets. We do need yet more of them, but we do have more being made over here. Boom, boom. And then we'll do you, 2, and 3, and oxygen tank. That gets us everything we need for the oxygen loader. And again, we're going to need power for this, and that completes the space program questline, which is surprising given that we have yet to go to space. But over here, we can put this down. And I believe the idea here is that we can use this to turn water into oxygen. So if I grab a bucket of water from here, and I place that in here, that should convert the water into oxygen, and then we just need to take our spacesuit and place that in here, and that's going to put the oxygen into our spacesuit, and then if we take it out and put it on again, you'll see in the top left, we've now got a little bit of oxygen in our tank, and that oxygen is going to allow us to breathe on the moon. One thing that might make this easier is if we grab our reservoir here, because this can hold 40 buckets of water, and I think we can fill the whole thing up instantly by just right-clicking it onto the aqueous accumulator, making sure first that you press V to change it to fill mode, then fill, I guess we can't fill it all at once, but we can fill it in increments of 5 or 4 buckets. 4 buckets, that's fine. We'll go ahead and fill that up. Then we can switch it to empty mode, and at that point, I think we should just be able to place it into this slot here. Yeah, and that's going to convert all of that water into oxygen, and then all that oxygen is going to go into the spacesuit. Cool. We'll go ahead and claim all of the rewards, all the free tech books that we probably don't need. The Twitch chat does make a good point that we can take our waystone with us to the moon, and then we can use that waystone to very easily teleport backwards and forwards from the moon back to our home base. So I'm probably going to steal one of our pre-existing waystones here because we don't really use them. We could purchase more if we wanted to, but again, I don't really see the need to buy more if we already have some that we're not using. And we can just put this down on the moon and then very easily teleport backwards and forwards once we've been there for the first time. And yeah, so now we just need to actually get to the moon, which we can do. I was going to say as soon as we have a full spacesuit, I guess we could do something like this to make that substantially faster. And once that's done, I think we're good to go. Let me clear my inventory out a little bit. Not that it should really matter too much. We are going to need our pickaxe. Other than that, I think we're pretty much good to go. Let's pop back over to here. This, isn't quite full on fuel yet. Let me grab that last bucket of fuel. Again, I don't necessarily think you need all 3 buckets, but I feel like we might as well fill it up just to be safe. We'll do this, and back over here, shift right click, boom. And once you're in it, you can just press space. Pressing spacebar, and I pressed F5 as well here to show us the outside here, but pressing spacebar will trigger the countdown. You can cancel the countdown by pressing escape, I believe, before takeoff, but I believe that we're good to go. You'll see on the left-hand side there that we do have a little graphic showing us how far we are into the atmosphere. I do believe we've got to go quite a ways up before we get to the space menu. But once we get to the space menu, I believe we then want to hit Sun, Earth, Moon, I believe is what we want to click. And then that should take us to the moon. I believe it's going to put us into the moon falling. It says hold space, which I am holding. So if you let go of space, your speed increases and you kind of move to the ground quite fast. You'll see on the left, it does show us how high up we are. And so you'll see that, woo, if we don't hold space, we start to fall quite quickly. We can fall a little bit faster, because if you hold space, it takes a long time to hit the ground. And so we can kind of let go of space a little bit and then kind of hold it as we get closer to the ground. If you hit the ground too fast, you will die. So just a heads up there. But if you hold space, you get a nice soft landing. Look at that. If you right-click on this, by the way, I mean shift right-click on this, we can take the rocket back. Fantastic. And we don't really need the lander. This is fine. So yeah, this is the moon. Let me throw down a waystone. I'm going to put the waystone down like further over here, like actually on the flatter section of the moon. Like this. We'll call this moon. Done. But now I'm pretty sure that we can just go straight back to Laser Hell and then straight back to the moon. It does cost a little bit of experience because we're traveling interdimensionally, but it is substantially faster than using the rocket. And so now that we're here, the first quest wants us to get Moonstone, which is actually, I believe, a little bit further underground here. In fact, if we head on over to a cave, we should be able to see a little bit of the Moonstone. Oh, this is basalt. I'm pretty sure there is Moonstone. Is it real far down, maybe? It might be much further down than I'm expecting. I was hoping it'd be pretty close by, but I might want to grab like some kind of shovel to allow us to get down a little bit faster. We could just jump down one of these caverns, but we do also have to bear in mind that we need to be able to get back up as well, which is definitely something to bear in mind. There is no gravity here, which is nice. Oh yeah, here we go, Moonstone. Nice. So we can ultimine this, which is good. And then the idea here is that we have to use the Moonstone to get DESH nuggets. So we can smelt 16 Moonstone into 1 DESH nugget, and we need 9 DESH nuggets, of course, to make 1 DESH ingot. And then I believe we're going to try and get DESH ore. So we need to get, oh gosh, we have to do some arithmetic here because we need 36 DESH ore in order to get unlimited DESH ore, right, from our miner. And so 36 multiplied by 4 is 144. That's how many DESH ingots we need. Each DESH ingot, of course, we then multiply that 144 by 9 because each DESH ingot requires 9 nuggets, and then each nugget requires 16 Moonstone. So we need 20,736 Moonstone, which divided by 64 is 324 stacks of Moonstone, which seems a little crazy. The digital miner might be able to help us here in terms of mining a large amount of Moonstone. Of course, it's not impossible. We could do this 324 times because each time we mine this, we do get another stack of Moonstone. But at the same time, I do think that potentially investing in a digital miner could be useful, simply due to the fact that I believe we have to do this quite a few more times. Someone does make a good point. Can we use the Techopolis miner? It looks like we actually might be able to. We totally can. We can use the miner from the miners mod to make more Moonstone. That makes a tremendous amount more sense than having to mine 300 stacks of the stuff. I was going to say that I'm pretty sure we have to do the same thing 3 times here because we go to Mars next, and then we get Ostrom from Mars Stone, then we go to Venus, and we get Calorite from Venus Stone. So I think the process is much the same in that the Ostrom nuggets here are made from 16 Mars Stone, and then the Calorite nuggets are made from 16 Venus Stone, and so we kind of just repeat the process 2 more times after this to get the other ingots that we need. But for now, we should just be able to take the 4 stacks of moonstone that we have and head on back through to our main base, set up another miner for moonstone, make it nice and fast using the netherite caps, and maybe even use our time in a bottle to accelerate that a little bit faster to get to the 20,000, hopefully in a reasonable amount of time. Alright, so not too long later we have another miner down, this time for the moonstone, and of course we've got the blocks of netherite on at the caps here. It's coming in, we're getting 1 per second, but of course if we need 20,000 moonstone and we only get 1 per second, that means it's going to take a little while for us to actually get to the 20,000, even with the netherite caps. And so we do still have 7 hours in our time in a bottle, and I think if we were to go ahead and accelerate this a little bit, it does look like it struggles a little bit with the extraction maybe, but it definitely is coming in substantially faster, and hopefully isn't going to take as many years as it would have done if we'd have just waited the long way. And so, yeah, we're going to have to get the DESH. The DESH is required in the making of the Tier 2 rocket as well. The rocket itself is kind of mostly the same, but we just need to swap out the compressed steel with compressed DESH, the normal steel tanks with DESH tanks, and the normal engine with the DESH engine. Everything else is the same, and then we can slap that onto the same launch pad, and we should be able to launch to Mars and kind of repeat this process. That didn't go as far as I would hope. It only used half an hour of our 7 hours, so we've used 1 hour now, and we're going to get to about 4,000. Geez, it's going to take a little while to get here. It's going to work. We're going to do it. It's just not going to be particularly fast. People did point out we could make it twice as fast if we swap the netherite blocks out for beacons. I think beacons are the fastest block that we can put as a capstone. And we should hopefully have enough essence now. How much we got over here? We have got 47, so we got just enough, actually, to make 4 nether stars, although we do already have 1, so we only need 3 more here and start. And, of course, we can do a little tap over there to make that a tiny bit faster. And we can use these temporarily to make our moonstone faster, and then once we've done with them, we can also then repurpose them to make some tier 10 support frame, because we do need that tier 10 support frame in order to actually get the DESH, which is probably actually going to be our limiting factor. We might even have to use the, gosh, this is so slow. In fact, we do have, actually, yeah, we do have exchanging gadgets, which at this point might be worth investing in. It's 4 iron, 2 advanced technium, and then some lapis and redstone. This isn't unlocked yet. I forgot about that. We need to unlock the building gadgets research paper, which looks pretty straightforward. It does require 2 more diamond ones, but those are easy enough. Boom. And then under the advanced research, I think, is building gadgets. Let me hand that in. And then, do we have 8 tech books? We do. Let's hand that in as well. That unlocks for us the ability to use this building gadget, which is going to charge straight away because we have wireless charging. And the way this works is we can just go ahead and put down a beacon. We can then, I believe, shift right click onto that beacon to set it as the thing that we want to copy. And then can I just right click here to paste the beacon? I totally can. And it just exchanges the block that we shift right clicked on for the block that is down. And so we can do the same here and here. And then if we want to move this last beacon over, we could potentially do something like this, where we do this and then kind of swap. Oh, I can't right click that without opening it up. Okay, fine. I'm going to have to pick this one up, but it made it, I think, a little bit faster for us to pick up the netherite. And just in the future, it takes way too long to kind of pick up the ruby blocks as well. And so I think being able to do this and this to swap out capstones will make our lives just a little bit easier. But this should now be going and making 2 moonstone per second. And so if we do the same thing again here and we go up to 128x, hopefully now we should get, you know, maybe like 4,000 instead of the initial 2,000. All right, and there we go, 20,000 moonstone. That took way too long, and it took like 3.5 of our 7 hours to actually make it happen, but it is now there. And we need to throw down another jumbo furnace, because we actually need to use the jumbo furnace to process the smelting. So let me throw this down. I might as well throw it down on the bottom level. There's no point putting it so far away, especially given that we don't need to hook it up necessarily to anything. I'm wondering if I should just put it kind of up like here, as silly as it looks. That might not be the worst idea, because we do need to smelt this in batches of 16. And of course, we can do a maximum of 64 at a time. I believe that's 64 lots of 16, so it can smelt a lot at a time. And we just want to make sure that this thing is just like filled up with fuel, like this. And then we can just start taking all this out and putting it in here. Obviously, automation would be ideal here, because that was like 300 moonstone. And it does work, but we need to do that, you know, many, many more times. And so, real quick, if we grab our good old friend, the laser node here, we should be able to do some work with this. We're going to extract from here, and then we need to insert into the top. Now, the jumbo furnace, I think, if I put the card here, I think this might work. Because, as we mentioned a few times now, you can use the laser node to specify which side you want to insert from. But, of course, that's not going to work with a giant 3x3 multi-block, but I think it might work here. So this side is the north side. If we set this to insert on the south side and then say down, or maybe up, that I think might work. If I come over here and I set this to extract like that, and then I use my wrench to connect from here to here, that totally does work. Nice. And then from there, if we grab our overclockers, we should be able to move this a lot faster. We want 4 of those. 5 is fine, though. And then in here, on the south side, extract a stack every tick. That's going to fill that up very nicely. And then from there, we can just use this laser node again as the extraction point. So if we do something like this, and we set this to... I guess we need one more card, actually, right? We need another item card for extracting. We want to extract from the top. And we'll change the channel here to orange. And then we want to insert to the bottom. Again, orange is what we're after. So I need to take out all that moonstone, because it moved so much of it in the time it took me to do that, which makes sense, because it's moving a stack per tick. But there we go. If we do this, we have the DESH ingots, and more DESH ingots are going to get made. And, of course, on this extraction here, we can put in a card just to make it that little bit faster, even though it's probably not necessary. We're not making the DESH that fast. But yeah, this is all good. There's not really much more we can do now until this is done, because we need the DESH to continue, right? We could use some of the DESH to make the rocket, but I feel like we might as well make the DESH like miner first. That's going to be the more sensible thing to do. Otherwise, we're just going to need even more moonstone, and it's just not going to be worth it. A compacting drawer would work here, chat. Yep, that is indeed correct. If we replace the standard drawer with a compacting drawer, that will allow us to automate this. We really have no stone, eh? We do have stone. It's over here. It's just not accessible to the AE2 system. That makes sense. Let me do... this is not a permanent drawer, so I'm just going to move this to here, and then we'll put the compacting drawer here, and then we'll take all of this out and put it all in here. And we're looking for quite a few DESH ingots, because we need 36 DESH ore, and each DESH ore requires 4. Yeah, so basically we just have to process all of the moonstone. While we wait for that moonstone to process, the next thing that's going to be the bottleneck for us, though, is beacons, right? So we can take the 4 beacons that we have, but we need to get 36 of the tier 10 support frame, the final tier of support frame. If we're going to get 36 of the tier 10 support frame, that means that we need to get 12 of these beacons. We have 4 beacons, but it means we need 8 more, right? And right now, I don't believe we have 80 elite essence up here. We don't, we've got 36. Thankfully, I think it's just a case of timing the bottling here to make that faster, and then maybe also investing in some more overclocking cards, because I think one of the limiting factors is just how fast the whole system can. And do I have more chips over here? I feel like I made extra and didn't take them all. I did, fantastic. But I think the limiting factor is just how fast the node can pull out of that bottom extractor, especially when we start speeding this up. The advanced ore essence just can't be pulled out fast enough. So if we set this extractor card to pull more faster, we should then be able to do something like this and really start to tear through it. We are going to get set back a little bit whenever it needs more of the essence upgraders, but the system should get to those eventually. And one thing we can potentially do is make a few more acceleration cards just to make that exporting endeavor just a little bit faster, because you can put these acceleration cards into the exporter here, and that's going to make it just a bit quicker at filling in those essence upgraders as and when they're needed. And back over here, we should now be making more stuff. We can speed this up as well, like that. This one probably doesn't need to be sped up on the laser node front. You know, it's not the fastest, but it should get there eventually. And yeah, I guess we kind of just need to do that until we have 80 elite mob essence. And at that point, we should then be able to make enough of the tier 10 support frame to actually get this DESH or miner up and running. All right, an 80 elite mob essence later, we can now once again request 8 more nether stars. Those are going to come in. In the time it took us to do that, I do believe we have all of the DESH that we need down here. Yep, we got 147, we needed 144, so we can take all of that DESH, and we can use that to produce the DESH ore, which is this recipe right here. Looks like it does require moonstone, and so I'm going to go ahead and take out this item extraction card, because we are going to have to save up a little bit of moonstone here, not much though. In fact, that should be basically more than enough. At this point, we can probably tear this miner down, because I don't really think we're going to need more moonstone going forward. I think we only really needed it to get the DESH, and now that we have 36 DESH, we are good to go. Those nether stars should also be good to go. They are indeed. And with that, we should be able to make more tier 10 support frame, of course, after we make 8 more beacons. Fantastic. Let's make as much tier 10 support frame as we can. That's 24. That's another quest line complete. And we can also go ahead and do something with our exchanging gadget here if we do something like this. Obviously, although, of course, we realized before that the exchanging gadget doesn't work with the beacons. Now, the Twitch chat did make a good point here. I was talking about potentially just mining the future stones, because it took us a long time to get this moonstone. It took a lot of time in a bottle, and if we're going to try and do the same thing with Mars and Venus stone, we're not going to have enough time to make it happen. And so it might actually be faster, as crazy as it is, to just use Ultimine and do it, like, on Venus or on Mars. And so I'm thinking that an atomic disassembler might not be a terrible idea. This is basically an electric pickaxe from the Mekanism mod. We did make a refined obsidian ingot way back in a previous episode, and it should start charging wirelessly from our wireless charging system, and it's thankfully just a lot faster than previous pickaxes, and the benefit, of course, is that it runs on power, not on durability, so it's never going to break, unlike our axe and pickaxe. It's also an axe and pickaxe in one. It can do both of those, which is very nice. It can also do shoveling as well. Not only does it make breaking these beacons faster, which is then going to allow us to make even more of these tier 10 support frames, but it would also potentially make it quite quick for us to just go through to Mars and just mine with that, potentially. For now, though, let's go ahead and let's do something like this and get down this tier 10 support frame. So we want to go up to here, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then build out the rest of the frame. I do quite like the look of this block here. It's quite nice for the final tier of support frame. And then we should be able to fill this with DESH. And with the DESH, we can actually build our tier 2 rocket. So we'll fill all of that in. And for now, I was going to say I'll steal the miner, but there's no reason to steal the miner. The miner is so easy to make. I was going to steal this miner that's making moonstone, because we don't really need the moonstone anymore. But to be fair, the miners are just wood, and that's it. So we might as well just make a fresh one. There's no reason not to. And we'll also, of course, go ahead and grab a DESH draw as well. Boom and boom. And I'm assuming the DESH ore can be processed in the same way we're processing all of our other ores. Never mind. You have to process the DESH in the jumbo furnace. I have no idea why that's the case. Like, why you can't just use the Mekanism or Thermal Expansion machines. But apparently, we're going back to the jumbo furnace. Ben loves the jumbo furnace, and so the jumbo furnace it is. I'll put down the netherite blocks. We could put beacons down. Actually, we couldn't put beacons down because we just used them all, but if we wanted to, we could try and get beacons, but I don't think they're necessary. We probably don't need that much DESH, and of course, we can make this faster if we want, but I think, chat, that we're probably going to have to wrap it up there. I think next time we'll come back, we will look at moving further on. We can get our tier 2 rocket, which shouldn't be too difficult. That is going to allow us to get to Mars. Mars can then get us the Ostrom. Ostrom can then make the next tier of rocket, and then that allows us to make the next tier of spacesuit, which we can use on Venus to get the Venus stone, to get the calorite, and it's kind of more of the same of what we've just done, but once we have that, at that point, the voided technium kind of takes care of itself, because once we have miners for Ostrom, calorite, and DESH up and running, getting the blocks is easy enough. It's just a case of piping things into compacting drawers. Nether stars we're already automating. We're going to get more of those between episodes, and then voided technium is taken care of. And at that point, we can then start on the mod mastery papers. I was just about to ask if we actually needed the void technium for anything, and the answer is yes. We need them for each of the books. So here, each book requires a mod mastery paper in the middle. Each book requires 1 voided technium, and so we're going to need a fair amount of voided technium. We also need 2 at the end here, but we need each one of these books 16 times to make 16 technium, and so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books. So we need 160 voided technium in order to finish the pack, which is a fair amount, which means we need like 640 nether stars in total to make all the voided technium, which is, 6,400 of the elite mob essence. So it's also quite possible that we might just need to make way more of these. We might need more essence stations to make this essence faster, because this is working, but it's way too slow at current pace. And so we might have to kind of ramp up production on that to get enough of those to complete these mod mastery papers. But next time we'll come back, we'll look at finishing up the Beyond Earth space travel, we'll look at automating the voided technium, and then we can kind of focus solely on these mod mastery papers and see what can be done. Real quick, one thing I will do before we leave is I will quickly swap out the cobblestone miner here, because we're only at tier 5, and one of the mod mastery papers is 9x compressed cobblestone. And so thankfully we do have a lot of 5x compressed cobble here, which we can just craft down very easily into 6x compressed cobblestone. But we're going to have to make a point of doing this much more regularly, because we need to get up to 7x, 8x, and then 9x if we're going to finish the pack. And so that is definitely something we're going to want to do. We are kind of getting a bit of a draw graveyard, because I'm going to steal this draw right here that's currently holding our 5x cobblestone, and we're going to move that over to here with our draw that's holding, I believe, 4x cobblestone, and then we'll go ahead and throw down a new draw right about here for hopefully 6x cobblestone. Of course, it looks like other stuff is being connected there. Let me temporarily do this, and then hopefully, I guess we can actually just do... Actually, how in the world did that fill up? Where are you getting the... It's not connected. Where are you getting the Technium from? Real quick, let me try and lock that drawer. Okay, it's not going to lock. Fine. Let me move that to here. Let's unlock it, take it out, lock it, move it back, put in the 6x cobblestone, and then the Twitch chat is right, annoyingly, that we do need to get a higher tier of support frame here. We need the tier 7 support frame if we're going to make this work. Thankfully, though, now we should be able to use our exchanging gadget to make this a little bit easier. If we put one down, shift right click, and then break it. By default, it does only replace one at a time, which in this scenario is fine. You can go to Options, Controls, Key Bindings, and type in Gadget. And you're looking for this Settings menu option that's currently set to G. I'm going to change that to maybe like numpad... Are all the numpad options taken? Numpad 7, sure. And if you hold down that key, it then shows you this wheel here, and you can change the range. And with a larger range, you'll see it'll change more of the blocks. For us, we don't really want that. I'm going to leave it at 1. We just almost lost our building gadget. That would have been not ideal. But we just want to swap these gold blocks out for diamond blocks. Chet does make an even better point in that we could probably just go straight up to like netherite support frames, like the tier 9. We don't have what it takes to make tier 10 yet, but if we go up to tier 9, we know we're going to go up to this point in the future anyway, because I'm pretty sure that in order to make the 9x compressed cobble, we're going to need the tier 10 support frame. So we might as well just jump straight to the highest tier, especially because higher tiers can work in scenarios where lower tiers are required. So we might as well just go ahead and swap all of these out to netherite. And there we go. It's working. Nice. I will go ahead and put down 2 more ruby blocks. Of course, we could put netherite down here, but I don't think it's going to be necessary. Boom and boom. And there we go. The 6x compressed cobble is being made. We only need like 36 of it before we can upgrade again, so it's not going to take too long. And it shouldn't really be something we have to worry about. I'm more worried about the essence setup and how we're going to have to increase that massively to get enough nether stars to finish the pack. But that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Techopolis 2 there.